Welcome to the Bloom Where You're Planted podcast from Never Too Late Cafe. I'm your host, Laura Womack. Each week, we sit down for a chat with someone just like you, someone who had an idea, a passion, a dream, or sometimes just a thought, and planted that seed, watched it grow into something they wanted to share with the world. If you have an idea for a topic or someone that would be a guest for the Bloom Where You're Planted podcast, feel free to reach out to us on Facebook, or you can join our Never Too Late Cafe Facebook group. We'd love to hear from you. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us for part 2 of our conversation with Roger Smith. So we were talking about your process when you submitted your video, your movie, to film festivals. So you had gone to 5 and you won 1.
Mm-hmm.
And
lost and didn't win 4.
what?
Yeah, so
Those were big. Those were big ones, though.
Oh yeah, yep, they sure are. So the one that we won, we were excited about. We got one for. I was explaining about how the television industry has a section that's called entertainment. And so pretty much anything can come under that, from dog shows, okay, pet shows, if you will, documentaries. I think actually documentary has its own category. I'm not sure.
It
But
does.
under entertainment, there's one that's called like art. Yeah, it's called like arts and narratives, and that's what mine classified as. And so I entered it accordingly. And like I say, we won 3 awards in that. I can't remember what the 3. I should remember, but I'm not real big on collecting my credits. I'm just big on making sure that we do get some. But here's the thing. Talk about perseverance there for a moment. And I'd love to pick on that word, because that's how wars are won or lost. That's how inventions are found or not discovered. It's the perseverance. You think about Edison. So Edison was trying to invent a light bulb, and he'd had, as the world called it, failure after failure. I don't remember the number. I need to look it up again, but it's something like 300 or 400, the world would say, failures. Now, Edison looked at it like I do. I don't call them failures at all. They're just things that we learned that don't work. Okay. And so when his lab burned to the ground, it caught on fire. They knocked over a lamp, it caught on fire, burned to the ground. When it was all over, they told him, they saw him with his son, and he was telling his son to go to the lumber yard, and he was telling him what woods to buy, buy this many board feet of this and get that. And this guy says, my gosh, you're going to continue to do this after all these failures that you've had? And he said, son, I've never had a single failure. What I've had, and I don't remember the number, but I'm going to say 436 things that I've learned that are not filaments. I will soon find the one that is. And so lo and behold, like in the next 20 or 30, he found the one that worked. And so perseverance. Had he stopped with the fire, little did he realize he was only that far. You can see there's a tiny little gap away from finding the answer. And that perseverance was this. So I lost at, or I didn't succeed at Sundance. So I contacted Sundance, and I asked somebody, I said, I'd like to know if we did any good at all. I mean, did we, and the guy goes, you're like the only person that is called. And I said, well, I'm sorry, but I'd like to know. I mean, where were we? I mean, were we number five? Were we number 137? And he said, well, we don't rate them like that. It's either a yay or a nay. And I said, okay, well then can you answer me this? How many people were in there? He said, well, hold on a second. And he came back and he said, well, in your category, and I don't remember the number, but in your category, there were 1,187 submissions. I
Wow.
don't mind not winning. You're going to have to be pretty good to win. Remember the one out of 99 that I gave a little while ago? I'm a man of numbers. All right. And so I didn't feel bad at all. Now I was excited. I was excited that we didn't win because it would say statistically that if I do 1,186 more, I just might win. I don't like those numbers, but I will probably submit again someday. But in any event, so perseverance, and that perseverance is really the key P in all of it. I use these P words, and I have a whole bunch of them that relate to success. All right. One of them goes something like this, and this is a line. I read it somewhere. It's not like I created all these. I did create the methodology on how I follow them about planning, preparation, all that. See, when I was doing the research, I was doing preparation. I was preparing, planning. I wasn't planning. Somebody said, well, that's planning. No, that isn't. No, it isn't because I didn't know what to plan. So before I can plan, I have to prepare. I have to prepare
Right.
me to know what I need to plan, right? So I was doing preparation, all right, and I was studying. I was studying the actors. I was studying the directors. I was studying the film set, the locations. I was trying to figure all this out. How do I do it? And then I could plan. But we don't want to talk about that right now. But anyway, there's five of them that go together. Proper planning prevents poor performance. And that's a
Wow.
really good one. Yeah, somebody told me that once. They said, that's what you're doing. And I said, wow, I really like that. But notice that's only related to planning. Proper planning prevents poor performance. Okay. And so that's just on each one of them, you could do that, right? You could take perseverance, you could take persistence, because persistence comes under perseverance. You see what I mean? And so they all fit together. And so those are little nuances to help.
Wow. I like those are definitely
And so
words of wisdom.
yeah, so the awards was a point of credibility, recognition. So now, somebody asked me, I had a major executive producer come to me in Pittsburgh. We almost got to produce the film. And lo and behold, he came to me and he said, we picked three finalists that we want to talk to. And of the three, we're expecting one of you will take this romantic comedy that we have that we would like to film. Now, this is a big picture with a big budget. And I said, well, before we begin, all right, I want to ask you a question. And he goes, yes. The executive producer said, yes. What is it? Why me? Of all the people in the world that you could have picked, why are you picking me? And he started to answer. I said, now, before you do, if you could answer them in order, I would really appreciate it. He said, wow, you're pretty demanding. I'm not sure you're the guy we want after all. And I said, well, no, go ahead. I mean, if you don't want to answer it, you don't have to, but I would really like to. He said, well, for one, we see that you've won some awards. Aha. So my thought process was correct. Yes, awards count is toward credibility. He said, number two, he said, you've produced 300 or 400 television shows and you've produced over 1,000 other videos of documentaries and all kinds of stuff. And I said, yes, even stuff for National Geographic and stuff like that. And he said, can you tell me what that was for National Geographic? I said, nope, don't have a clue. And he said, really? I said, yeah, it was something about a deer. I can't remember. And we didn't actually film it for National Geographic. They just picked it up. And he said, well, how could they pick it up? And I said, because everything I produce is non-copyrighted. I don't copyright anything. Why do you do that? And I said, well, National Geographic got to see it. Had I copyrighted it, they wouldn't have been, not only would they have not been able to see it, most likely, they wouldn't have been able to use it. But they did. And now that they use it, they had to give me credit. So, and he said, that's an interesting philosophy. Well, this film will be copyrighted. And I said, okay. In any event, what it came down to is they, out of the three directors, one of whom was a grandson of a major director and actor throughout the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. And here they are picking me over that person. And so now I wanted to know, I said, well, now that you've told me that, why me? And he said, geez, I thought we already answered that. And I said, no, because now you've made a selection. So now why me? And he said, well, one of the things this picture is going to require a lot of giddy up go. I said, that's my word. And he said, yeah, I got that from our last conversation. He said, I like that. Giddy up, go. It's what it takes. When you're tired, you're wore out, the thing isn't working, and you just keep going. He said, you know, one of the things that I liked that you said that you did 21 takes on a particular scene in the movie The Crimson Rose. And I said, yes, that's correct. And he said, and you said not one of them was to your satisfaction. And I said, that would be correct. And he said, that's what we need.
Wow.
And I said, okay. So then you saw that out of the 21 takes, I got enough material that I could do the various cuts and make the scene work. And he said, yep. And that's what I see with this film. I see a lot of opportunities for burps in it. I've produced a lot of films, and this is one I definitely want because my mother likes the script and I want to produce the film for her. And so in any event, as it boils, as it came to shove, by the end of the year, we're going to have a dinner, and they're going to present me with the big check. You know, it's I can't remember what the budget was now. I think it was 1.1 million, something like that. And he's going to present me with this great big check, the first check of many. And the first check was 400 and some thousand. We got an advance to get started. And I was all excited. Oh, I was so excited.
Right.
In any event, January came whenever we were going to start production. And what happened was he got another picture of like 2.9 million. And so if you had a choice of a 1 million or a 3 million, which would you take?
Yeah. Off it went.
So I got pushed up. Yep.
Did the film, to your knowledge, ever get developed?
No,
The first one.
no, it did not. And I have, he's given me full rights to the script. So I have the right to go ahead and produce the film if I want. I just don't happen to have $1 million laying around.
Yeah. So, well,
let's put it this way: I don't have $1 million disposable.
Right this minute. So,
yeah.
So
now the other film, also won 2 awards. That was called Sarah and Susie. Now both of these films are online and can be watched. All you do is go to trimediapictures.com. trimediapictures.com, and the 2 films are listed. We cleaned everything else off the website, and the only thing there are 2 links, and one of them is The Crimson Rose, and the other one is Sarah and Susie. Now, it won 2 awards, and again, each one of them had their objectives. The Crimson Rose was in the 30-minute class. So it qualified in the 30 and under and the 30 and over. All right. And so we wanted to be right exactly at 30 minutes long. All right. And the other one had to be less than 10 minutes. So I wanted to see how we could do in shooting a film in one day and if we could do any good with it. Neither of the actors had ever acted before. There's only two actors in it. And neither one of them's an adult, the other one's a child. Neither one of them had acted, as I said. And it went well. It starts out in a graveyard because each of these three films, if you remember, I said I wanted to produce three films to develop the credibility.
Right.
And each one of them were to have some special effect, a special effect. Okay. I wanted them to have multiple locations. That is, it would be filmed in multiple locations, if at all possible. If not, then that's fine. Okay. The second one, each one of them would involve death. There would have to be death involved somewhere along the way. And then there was a third. Each one of them had to be in the respective state. That it had to stay in that state. So a West Virginia film, which was the first, the Pennsylvania film, which was the second one, and the third one was in Ohio. The third one, we were nearing completion. We were in the final third of the film when the film went south. I just talk about perseverance. I walked away from it. I'd spent $11,000 and I hadn't gotten, I still had a third of the film to go. And that third was going to be a tough third. So I was guessing it was probably going to cost another $5,000 to $6,000. And I didn't want to invest $20,000 of my money into a film like this. And plus, we had a major accident. And so we just stopped production to regroup. And during that 6 to 12 month break, I just walked away from it. The actors got older, and so it kind of ruined the whole thing. So I quit. But I could still do it.
Well, hey, you've had so many experiences. It's been a wonderful time with you, going over all of your experiences. It's amazing. So
Thank you.
when we talk about this podcast of Bloom Where You're Planted.
If I could just add one thing before we end there. Okay. I'm still in the film business.
Okay.
I still produce music videos. I do commercials, a lot of commercials in the area here, tri-state area, and all over. I film out of the state, multiple states, and I'm writing the rest of that series. The Adventures of Xavier Winfield. There are 7 books in that, and I'm waiting till I get the 7th book done to release the rest of the set. And I'll release them one at a time. They'll come about 6 months apart.
Wow. Very interesting.
So go ahead. I'm sorry to have interrupted.
Oh, no, absolutely. Oh, and one thing I did forget to mention is locally, you have been coordinating a writers group.
Oh, yes.
At our local library. And how did that come about?
Okay. I went to a writers conference, and at the writers conference, they gave multiple an outline of what to do to become a writer, which, by the way, for anyone interested in being a writer, okay, I have right here, Writer's Market, it's called. Now, it's a big book, all right? And Writer's Market, this 100th edition has an amazing start. It literally tells you, if you're thinking about being a writer, here's what you will want to do. And I mean, it's like a book in itself. I'm just looking to see how many pages in this book it represents. And it looks like about 90 pages. Okay. And it literally tells you the whole story. If you wanted to be a writer, you would definitely want to read that first 100 pages or so. And what it will do is it'll introduce the reader on these are the things that you need to think about before you begin writing. Little things like don't quit your job.
Right.
It's not that
Important things.
successful. So yeah,
Well, that's a
important
great
things.
resource.
And then how to plan. Oh yes.
So the writers group, is that a resource that you've shared with the group?
Yes, yes. Yeah. So anyway, I kind of got off track. I tend to do that. I'll get a little bit off track, and then I'll stay off track, and then forget what the topic was. Yes. What happened was at that conference, one of the things was that network with other writers. Number one. Number two, join a writers group, because in the writers group you'll have various talents at various levels, and you can be a help to others and others can be a help to you, and that puts you somewhere in the middle, and that's kind of where everybody likes to be, isn't it? Kind of like in the middle. And so unless they want to make a lot of money. And so what I did was I focused on putting a writers group together, and January, I guess 3 years ago, 4 years ago, we started River Valley Writers. And so we're on meetup.com. If you go to meetup.com, you'll find River Valley Writers there. And so that's us. There's like 100 and some people in the group, but typically at our meetings in Portsmouth, we'll have at the Portsmouth Public Library on the first Tuesday of every month. That's the first Tuesday of every month. We meet at 6 o'clock till 7:45. We usually start wrapping up or try to be done around 7:30. All right. And each month we have a topic. Now, this month is really special because we are having a free workshop. We have an award-winning writer who's going to present a program on how to get your books to sell, and all the way from statistical analysis to is your book in the right category, and what you can do as a writer to get your books out on the market. That author is Mary McFarland. She's local. Gosh, I don't remember how many books she has written, but I'm going to guess upwards of 20 or so. And like I say, she's an award-winning writer. And in our group, we have a couple of award-winning writers. We have one that guy started out with a $25,000 upfront money, and she no longer is in our group because she has moved to the Carolinas. But it was great having her there. She was exciting, and that's pretty much it. We typical meeting will have anywhere from say 5 to close to 20.
Mm-hmm.
So any writers out there thinking of being a writer, why come and see us. And who knows, you might be the next author. Difference between a writer and an author: one writes, an author has sold it.
I wanted to ask you, is your Tri-State Media still in operation? Is that the name, Tri-State Media?
Well, Tri-Media Productions,
Tri-Media
which was
Productions.
the corporation was Tri-Media. Yeah, and that was Tri-Media Incorporated, and we've since closed that. And here locally, I operate under Backpack.
Backpack.
I just call it Backpack. People want to know how I got that name. Basically, what happened when I moved from Pittsburgh to here, okay, first of all, I sold my video production business back there, all right, to one of the people that worked with me. And so when I left, I gave them, they never asked for it, but I gave them a non-compete. So I gave them an area in which I would not work. Okay,
Mhm.
now I live outside that, but I still didn't want to go into any form of competition. So I kind of waited and waited. And what I did was I eventually bought myself a camera. All right. And I already have the experience. And so I sought work. So one of the first things I did was then go back to the New York ad agencies and tell them, hey, I'm back available again. And as I did that, they literally signed me on. And so now I shoot commercials for them and basically, for the most part, West Virginia, Kentucky, and Ohio. I have gone as far as Indiana, Pennsylvania, but I haven't done anything in Pennsylvania under backpack.
Okay.
And so because I wouldn't want to compete with the people that bought us. However, I'm well outside that agreement now. That's expired. I could do whatever I wanted.
Well, you
Hope that
have
answered the
done
question. Yes.
so
Oh, I
many
didn't answer
things.
the backpack.
Right. How
Yeah,
did
I
that
didn't
come
answer the
about?
backpack. Yeah, so when I got here, I said, okay, when I was in Pittsburgh, I had a minivan and we filled it completely to the brim. There was no room for anybody behind the front two seats. That was it. We even had stuff extended between the front seats that went into the window, which was the track for the camera dolly. And so when I moved here, I told my wife, I said, I think this little business, I think what I will do, I'll keep it down to stuff that would fit in you got it, backpack. And so that's why I named it Backpack. And all my stuff, I literally can go on scene and shoot a commercial with everything on this body. I got a strap running this way, a strap coming down this way. I got things in this hand, things in that hand, a backpack on my back. And I go in with about 3 packs and a couple of handfuls of stuff that I'm carrying. And that's it. There's nothing else. I don't have to go to my car for anything. That's it.
That's amazing that you've made it so compact. It sounds like you have it down to a science now.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
Bloom Where You're Planted is you have really done that in multiple locations. So, what does that quote mean to you?
Well, you could relocate to go try to take your message or your idea to the world, or you could start right where you are. Wherever
Mm.
you're located, you can say, well, I'm not in the best economics. This area is going downhill. Well, you could let that be your attitude. You could say, okay, it's a downhill attitude, so I guess I should have a downhill attitude. Then all you do is you become part of the problem because downhill isn't progressive.
No.
Downhill isn't moving forward. That's moving backward. So, do you want to be part of the problem or part of the solution? And the answer is perseverance, proper planning, going out and doing what you do right where you are will not only help you, but it'll help everybody around you and possibly help everybody around them. And you could be the beginning of something brand new, and yet it's still the same old thing, but it's all
Mm,
brand new. And I like that philosophy.
that is wonderful words. Well, Roger, it has been great to have you today. I'm sure that we will chat again another time. And I want to ask you what's next for Roger?
Well, right now, I have a couple of movie scripts that I'm working on. I have the books that I mentioned. I'm writing a big project, but it is one that I'm doing the most research on. And what it is, there's almost um, a book on how to do everything. I mean, I suppose if you looked hard enough, you could find a book on how to drink water. I've certainly read
I bet.
um, plenty of articles on, you know what I mean? Uh, I've certainly read many articles on what water to drink. So one of the things that hit me along the way, my trail had a dark area where I went down in the dumps. And while I was down there, I turned to God. As I pointed out earlier, the Bible. I turned to God, and when I turned to God, I didn't just say, "Okay, I'm just gonna go to church and all that." I want to find out everything there is to know about God, His Bible, His plan. Because I had a plan. One of my plans failed, but it didn't fail. It just never got finished. And I know God didn't plan to fail, and He didn't fail. It was part of the plan. And I wanted to know what that was. And so I went to work on that. And I started studying and I began to find answers. And as I found answers, for every answer that I found to a question that I had 4 or 5 new questions. The list of questions looked like it was going to take me the rest of my life, and it may still yet. But what I've discovered in the last 20 years of this research, because that's how long it's been, I've been doing this book for 20 years, research 20 years. And what God has brought into my path was the ability to know that it's true. The words in the Bible are true completely, 100%. And what He's shown me is answers to questions that most people don't ask. And when I share some of these answers with pastors, they'll say to me, "Oh my gosh, I never realized that. You're right. That's what that passage says. It doesn't say what I thought." I said, "That's because God wrote it for the person that wants to discover." That means you have to read and you have to research, study to show thyself approved, is what it says. Approved to whom? Man? Nope, to God. And that process has led me to an amazing bunch of discoveries. I have books on my desk here. They're piled around. That's why I set my setup just the way I do, so you can't see all the mess. I have piles of books, and each one of them, I have things and parts and pieces. And so this book will be everything you wanted to know about the Bible and the world we live in, but don't know. Like as an example, they're still trying to figure out the pyramids. And guess what? I found them in the Bible. They're there. That's right. The Bible is filled with secrets, and all we got to do is find the answers. And so
I
that's
know
what
some
I'm,
people
those are
that
the
would,
projects that I'm working on. I'm now filming.
I know
Yeah, go ahead.
there's some people that I've talked to previously that have studied pyramids and visited them. And so that would be really interesting to get all of you together. And by the way,
Yes.
I Googled how to drink water, and there's YouTubes on how to drink water.
Is it really?
There is how
I
to drink
figured as
water.
much.
And it was just last
I
year.
figured it.
So, well, I don't know about book. I haven't searched that far, but there are definitely YouTubes and
Yeah.
WikiHow, and so it has
Yep.
been
Yep.
a lot of fun. And I'm sure we are actually going to be a part of Portsmouth area wood songs that'll be out, and it will happen before this podcast actually airs. And I'm sure we will chat again because you are one that is got a lot of get up and go. So
Yeah, that's it. Giddy up and go.
giddy up and go. Well, thanks again. And so this is Laura Womack from Never Too Late Cafe with the Bloom Where You're Planted podcast. And I'm saying bye for now. So bye, Roger.
Bye-bye. Thank you
Thanks
for having
again.
me.
Thanks for being a guest. Bye-bye.